Thanks for joining us tonight. Researchers have released a new study that could lead to doctors diagnosing autism as early as 1 year old. It's a move some people say will have a positive effect on children with autism. Candace Wynn reports.
Did you learn the code?
It's bb.net. I just learned on YouTube.
By meeting him, you wouldn't know 14-year-old Carson has Asperger's syndrome, which is on the autism spectrum. If you saw him coding on his computer, you'd probably just think he's the next Bill Gates.
Actually, I worked on, my whole summer after 7th grade, I actually worked on this, for most of the summer.
Carson Human has been programming since the 5th grade.
One of the misconceptions of autism is that people often think that that people with autism are all on the same kind of spectrum, the area on the spectrum, when really it's there's a bunch of different kinds of autism, you know. People with autism, a lot of times they'll just learn a little bit differently in different subjects, kind of.
UC San Diego doctors are trying to help families like the Humans with identifying the disease earlier. They surveyed 170 local pediatricians for behavioral indicators of autism. Then they found genetic biomarkers or fingerprints in the patient's blood and accurately predicted which children would develop autism.
So the idea is to let's see if the blood holds some information that can be leveraged to develop a signature of autism.
Research that may one day have a big impact on the debate over vaccines.
So our studies, this study as well as other studies, are showing that autism begins in prenatal life, probably in the 2nd or 3rd trimester.
Early diagnosis means that you get the social skills training and are able to walk your child maybe through what the expectations are coming up.
And that's Candace Wynn reporting. And joining us now from our local area in the Kelberman Center, Dr. Jean Jacobson. Thank you so much for coming in. And with this study brings a lot of hope and also a lot of fear too, because a lot of new mothers especially, new parents especially, they're not sure what to look for when looking for the signs and the symptoms. So fill me in, and as a new parent, what should stand out to us?
Well, we certainly don't want parents to panic and be looking at every little thing, but there is some really good research out there now that tells you what those early signs are for even as young as 1 year old. We look for things like not sharing facial expressions with the parent, avoiding eye contact, not having a range of emotions at a young age, as well as any loss of skills, so delayed speech or speech that comes and then disappears. And you can certainly talk to your pediatrician about all of these things because they know what to look for as well.
Okay, so let's say we do make a diagnosis at age 1, 2, 3. Where do you go from there? Do you jump right into a schedule or a treatment plan, or do you kind of wait it out and see, okay, is this really developing into what we think it is?
We really don't want to use the wait and see approach. That would be a mistake. What's great about the research that's coming out and showing us how to diagnose children younger and younger is because we know that early intervention is so important. And the younger you are able to address the needs that the child has and start treatment, which is very specialized and very intensive, the more likely you are to have a positive outcome even through adulthood. So it's so important to get, even as young as 3 years old or even by age 2, sometimes we do like to start some kind of treatment.
Who does the diagnosing? Because you saw in that piece that a lot of times pediatricians don't want to make that leap right away.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it really is a complex diagnosis right now because we look at the child's behavior, we talk to the parents, we find out all kinds of things about the child's development. So it really requires someone who has specialized training, and even sometimes a pediatrician may not have that training. So at the Kelberman Center, for instance, we get referrals from local pediatricians because we have specialized training and we knew exactly what to look for. At that point, we're able to pinpoint what may or may not be autism as well as anything else that's going on.
Another point that we learned in that story was, we talk about the autism spectrum disorder. Yeah. And every case is going to be different. Yes. So once you do have that diagnosis, how do you develop a plan, and from where do you go from there when every child, every adult is going to be different? Every case is different.
Right, and you really don't want to take the child out of the natural setting and exclude them from their peers or anything like that. But it's hard to know when to do that and exactly how to provide what kind of treatment, and certainly there's lots of options. And we don't expect parents to know how to navigate that, and that's why we have a lot of family support services. At the Kelberman Center, you can actually sit down, for a free consultation with one of our specialists and just start to develop that plan. And through actually Medicaid, through a state-funded program, we have continued supports like that because it is a very confusing process for parents.
Do you need the referral from your pediatrician?
No, not to come to the Kelberman Center.
Okay.
You can come right in and sit down and talk about any concerns you have. We can help you decide whether you want to go for the evaluation or if there's other services that you might be able to access even without the diagnosis.
What is the rate now at which it's diagnosed?
The rate currently, I believe, is 1 in 88 or even less than that in some areas, and that's really alarming.
It is. Thank you so much for coming in and keeping us on the right page and up to date on this, because
Anytime.
it seems like the story just keeps changing.
Yes. Yeah,
in
it's a really
terms of
important
illness.
issue, and we're glad to see so much focus and attention on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Jean Jacobson from the Kelberman Center. Coming